Last week on the Personal Growth Podcast, Dwayne and Eric discussed being angry and how to deal with it. This week, the boys are back in action with episode 11, live in front of no studio audience at the Tri-Point Studios. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Personal Growth Podcast.
Yes! Every time!
That's a good announcer we got.
Have I told you about how much I appreciate you?
I appreciate you.
Just take it, man.
I did, and I responded in kind. I did. What did I go?
So
No,
kind.
you don't. Liar.
No, you didn't. Gosh.
I accepted by responding with, and I appreciate you. It's a give and take. It's banter.
Yeah, that's a
if you will.
mutually reciprocal.
Nice use of the word reciprocal. Well done. Well done. So, episode 11.
Episode 11.
What's on your mind?
Holy shit, we're at apparently mush. It was cold as shit today.
Not as cold as it was yesterday, though. I feel like it was a lot colder the last couple of days than it was today.
Okay.
I mean, it's still cold, yes.
I gotta tell you about why it was so cold.
Please.
So I was on a roof this morning, covered in snow.
Yep.
And I had to be sitting in said snow.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it every time.
So it was cold.
Okay.
Really
Withdrawn.
cold. Touche. No. I don't even know. But yeah, so what is on my mind?
Yes.
A few weeks ago, we had been outside after we had recorded a podcast.
Yes.
And we had a something of a debate, I guess you could say.
Sort of. I thought of it more of as a discussion, but I guess debate is not. I mean, we had differing opinions, so sure.
Yeah.
We could call it a debate.
Okay. About minimum wage.
Yes, we did indeed.
So, I think that's going to be our topic for this evening's podcast.
Okay.
I liked the way that we were kind of going back and forth about it whenever we had the discussion initially.
Sure. So we're going to try and recreate the magic here.
Not necessarily recreate, but...
Which is interesting because this is episode 11, and chapter 11 is the kind of bankruptcy that you file if you're not making enough money to pay things from your lack of a livable minimum wage. Boom.
Is that for real?
Tying everything together.
Is that for real?
Yeah, chapter 11 is if you file bankruptcy, it's chapter 11. I don't know why.
Because
That's just
minimum wage.
No, I'm sure it's not because of minimum wage. But when you don't have any money and you have to go bankrupt, it's chapter 11. And most people don't have any money because the minimum wage is not where it should be in this country.
Okay, so I don't really know a whole lot about bankruptcy. So
Okay.
I'm not gonna try to act like I know anything about that.
That's fair.
But I'm just curious. Do you really think that most people that go bankrupt because of minimum wage?
I don't know that's the real reason. And I mean, the most I know about bankruptcy is that if you get yourself into too much debt, you can file for bankruptcy, and then it basically starts you with a clean slate. So it wipes out all of your extraneous debt, and then you start over from scratch. I mean, the downside is that it takes, I think it's between 7 and 10 years to like rebuild your credit to a point where like you can buy a car or things like that. Again, I'm no expert on bankruptcy, having never filed it myself. But
yeah.
I think one of the reasons people have money trouble is because they're working 2-3 jobs and just not making enough to get by. Everything is so expensive in relation to how much money we're making that there's definitely a discrepancy there.
Okay. When we were talking about it the other day,
Yes.
one of my main arguments, I guess you could say, is that like I am a firm believer that we're not being paid for our time and that we're being paid for the value that we're adding in said amounts of time.
Right.
And another argument that I have about the changing of minimum wage is if you change the minimum wage, the necessities, what they cost, will rise as well. So then you're just creating like another hurdle to jump through.
Right, but I read a thing that said if something to the effect of if raising the minimum wage will cause the system to break, then the system needs to be broken. Like
the system's already broken.
Just to let our listeners know, like neither one of us, I feel, is an expert on any of these things.
Yeah,
so
no,
if we're saying things and we could be talking out of our asses, so just don't comment with "you guys don't know what the fuck you're talking about," because we know that we don't know what we're talking about. But what was it? I don't see why prices of things have to change too much if the minimum wage goes up. It's just, let me see if I can pull up some info here. Okay, so the minimum wage was conceived as a way to help bolster wage workers and decrease class stratification. It was first introduced in the United States with the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938, passed under President Roosevelt. This act called for the first national minimum wage of 25 cents an hour. Now, that's in 1938, where, adjusting for inflation, I don't know what 25 cents an hour would be now. Right. But it was essentially designed to, help people make a wage that was enough to
livable,
get by. Yeah, it was. Let's see, what is this? No, I don't want to sign up for a newsletter. How come every time? Stupid internet.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Okay, classical economic theory suggests that the minimum wage would have a stabilizing effect on the economy. As economist Richard Freeman explains in his 1996 book, Uneven Tides, Rising Inequality in America, there are three main ways that the minimum wage affects income disparity by distributing more earning power to people at the lower end of the economic spectrum. He refers to this as the redistribution theory. Okay. The first outcome of increased minimum wages is that, Dwayne, the cost of producing goods and services increases, which results in higher prices. These increased prices mean that everyone is paying more for goods, including the middle and upper classes, yet only the lower class is simultaneously increasing its income, thereby increasing the purchasing power of low-wage workers. In addition, higher wages decrease company profits while simultaneously increasing the income of the poor. Increased wages also cost some jobs. Often those are on the middle or higher end of the income spectrum. Overall, raising the minimum wage acts to decrease the wealth of the wealthier classes while increasing the wealth of lower-paid workers. So, essentially, it would help, maybe Bill Gates wouldn't be as rich, but I might not have to struggle to get my rent paid every month.
I definitely think that not having to struggle would be nice, right?
Indeed.
Like,
I couldn't agree more.
I'm not arguing that at all. And I'm not arguing the fact that, it should be easier for people to make a better income. Like that, I think that is a sound thing. But I also think that, part of the problem is not the amount of money that we're making. It's the philosophy and the relationship that we have with money.
Explain.
So, being brought up in a home where there wasn't a lot of money.
Right.
When there was money, it disappears very quickly.
Yeah.
Right? Where you're like, oh, well, we might not have this money in X amount of time, so we should spend it right now. Which is not a healthy relationship to have with money.
No, that's how you stay in the cycle. That perpetuates the
right. And so, this has been a problem that I've had in my life for a really long time. Being brought up, and I don't want to say that I was poor by any means,
right?
But I also know that there wasn't an excess of funds either.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't.
Same here.
I wasn't able to do gymnastics like I wanted to do. I wasn't able to do martial arts like I wanted to. The sports camps that I went to, I paid for that with money that I earned.
Right.
And so, and I think that is really good for me, right? Like,
oh, sure.
Like it teaches
you the value of a dollar and
like
the value of hard work.
You want something, you're going to get it, right?
Yeah.
And that there's been some really positive things that have come from that. And I'm not saying that I think that I should have ever had anything just handed to me.
Right.
So don't get me wrong there. But like the whole that thing where I'm like, well, I have this $200 okay. Situation that happened recently. I got kind of like a bonus from Cassidy. We got a bunch of jobs done way faster than we thought we were going to, and so I had the extra money.
Right.
And I did not use it responsibly.
No.
And it was money that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
You know, so it wasn't like it was already divvied up into areas where it needed to be or anything. But what I could have and should have done was set it aside, put it in the savings account or whatever, because it wasn't money that I actually needed.
Right.
But instead, I spent it on shit that I didn't need.
Like what? What did you?
It's irrelevant.
Buy? Just give me one thing you bought with the extra money you made. One thing that you wanted that you felt like I earned this.
It wasn't nothing. It
Nothing.
wasn't. I put it in a touch tab machine.
Okay, and that's fine, but that's your money to play with how you want, and that I don't know how you spending that money on the touch machine stimulates the economy, but you're putting money back into the pockets of things like you got the money, and then you immediately went out and spent it.
But it didn't need to be spent, is what I'm saying.
Right, it didn't need to be spent, but. It doesn't matter what it need if it's your money.
But it's
spend.
That's the problem. It's
you
the philosophy.
Made the money.
The philosophy of I have money, I should spend it.
Right. That comes from not having money.
Right. And
that comes from the mindset
good.
of exactly.
Right?
That's my point.
Right.
Is that less people would be in the mindset of I need to spend this before it goes away if they were making a livable wage. There's no reason that the owner and CEO, whatever it is, of Amazon should be worth billions of dollars while he has workers who have to work 2 and 3 jobs. Like he got divorced and his wife got some ridiculous settlement and he's still a billionaire multiple times over.
Right.
And he
has a good philosophy, a good relationship with money.
Right. But he doesn't.
What?
But the thing is that like all these people who are complaining, like it's only the people at the top who don't want to raise the minimum wage because they're like,
I'm not at the top and I don't want to raise it.
Well, that's because you're I don't know. I don't know why that is. But you love everybody.
I don't want to pay $5 for a gallon of milk.
Yeah, but it's not. It wouldn't increase that much. A
would.
Gallon of milk is like $1.89 now. If it goes up a little bit, maybe you'll pay $2.50 for a bottle of milk.
The more money you have, the more you're going to spend. It's just that's hands down how it is.
Sure, and the more money people have, the more likely they are to not have to go bankrupt because they broke their leg.
No, that how does breaking your if you're going to break your leg, you're going to break your leg. The minimum wage has nothing to do with that.
Sure, it does.
No, it does not.
Because minimum wage is tied into everything else. Most people work minimum wage jobs, and those jobs only have to give you insurance if you work 30 hours a week or more in most cases. So what they do is they'll schedule you 25 hours. They'll schedule you 27 hours in a week. If you've been on the clock too long, they make you go home. It's designed so that they don't have to give you medical insurance, which means if you're not getting good health insurance from the job where you're not making a lot of money anyway, if you break your leg and can't go to work, you will inevitably go bankrupt because the hospital bills are astronomical.
So here's the problem with what I'm the flaw in what I see you saying right now is that it's still the person's choice to work at a job that's not providing them with health insurance.
Not always.
Always.
It's not always the
How
person's
is it
choice.
not?
Because there are some people who can't Whether it's because they can't work for certain reasons, or maybe because they're an ex-con